Hi there, gorgeous! Happy money saving March to you. If you haven't heard, every video coming out the entire month of March is drugstore themed, and I'm also doing 5 videos a week, so please subscribe so you don't miss out on any videos coming out this month. If you see my beautiful son, top of his head here, a couple times throughout the video, please pardon. Well, yeah, it's been a crazy day here. I'll have more details at the end of the video, but I am trying to film around a toddler as we speak.
Mom?
Yes. Hi. So in today's video, I'm showing you 2 drugstore priced dupes for the Urban Decay Born to Run palette. I'll be showing you what these look like in up close swatches side by side, as well as on my eyes. I'll give you a full review of each one, and I'll let you know if one is better than the other or if they're both just as good. Before we get started, I also want to apologize for the couple mistakes that I made in the C-Color Cosmetics review video that I did. And I appreciate those who were gentle in calling me out on that mistake. I'm human, you know, and I don't know everything. So I apologize for that. I will absolutely try to do better in the future, but I appreciate those of you who were very understanding about my mistake. We'll start off with a palette from a brand called You Can Be. This is their Belonging palette, and you can see side by side with the Urban Decay Born to Run palette how truly similar these two are. And I mean next to near identical, right down to the shade names. They even took all the shade names from the Urban Decay palette and put them in their own. Now, if you look closely to it, these two palettes, you'll notice that the shades in the You Can Be palette are not in the same exact order as the Urban Decay palette, but it's not a big deal. When you look at the swatches side by side, the top row I'm showing you here is the You Can Be palette and the bottom row is the Urban Decay palette. There are some slight differences between the eyeshadows within both of these palettes, and if you really studied some of the shades, you can see the differences that exist. But once you get them on your eyes, those differences tend to disappear and they are not as noticeable as they are in the swatches. For the look that I created with both of these palettes, I'm going to let you guess. Can you tell which eye is the You Can Be dupe palette and which eye is the Urban Decay Born to Run palette? If you guessed that this eye is the dupe palette, then you are right. And this is such a beautiful look, so I'll show you step by step how I created it here. Taking the eyeshadow Riff, I first applied this into the crease, extremely pigmented eyeshadow, much more so in the dupe palette compared with the Urban Decay palette. And then I took the shade Big Sky, applied that on the inner half of the lid. I absolutely love this color of blue. It's so striking and the pigment was so strong with both palettes. Finally, taking the shade Radio, I applied this on the outer half of the lid and I also blended this up into the outer V and the outer crease of the eye. And the lashes that I paired up with this look are Angelic, and for the lips I used the NYX Butter lipstick in Lollies. The pigment was stronger in the You Can Be palette compared to Urban Decay's version. With some of the shades in Urban Decay, I struggled to get them onto my eyes. And I'll talk more about that here with the next palette too, because you can see on camera how much I struggled between the two palettes. I'm using an iPad as a distraction device right now, so if you hear something in the background, that's what you're hearing. It's working. Now, if you're wondering how much you get per palette, there is a little bit of a difference in the amount of eyeshadow per pan. In the You Can Be Belonging palette, you get 1.2 grams per pan, and in Urban Decay's palette, you get 0.8 grams per eyeshadow. So a little bit of a difference there and a tremendous price savings between these two. So not only are you getting more with this palette, but you're also getting it at a much more affordable price. And I did find this one on Amazon. So if you're interested in it, I will have it linked for you below. The other palette that I picked up is from the C-Color Cosmetics brand, and this is their Around the World eyeshadow palette. Compared to Urban Decay's palette, there are no names in this dupe palette, but the eyeshadows are in the same exact order that you would find them in Born to Run. So there's no guessing there either. And when you look at the swatches side by side between these two palettes, very similar and extremely hard to tell them apart. I will tell you that I feel like the eyeshadows are much closer in color with this palette compared to the Belonging palette from You Can Be. It's such a slight variation though that it's not really worth mentioning, but I do want to mention it. There are a couple of eyeshadows in the Born to Run palette that were not exact matches in the dupe palettes, but you'd have to really study them to be able to pick up on the differences. And an example that I have to share with you is the eyeshadow Double Life from the Born to Run palette. If you swatch it compared to the two dupe palettes, you'll notice that Double Life has much more rich red hues within the formula, and those don't exist within the two dupe palettes. And once you get this shade on your eyes and you compare it with the dupe, you can tell a very subtle difference between the two sides. And I'm telling you this because I did use that in the look I'm about to show you, and I want to see if you can pick up on the difference just based on my description there. So this is the look that I created with the Around the World palette. One of these eyes is using the dupe and one of these eyes is using Urban Decay. Can you tell which side is which? If you guessed that this eye is the Around the World palette, then you are right. And to create the look that I showed you just now, I took the eyeshadow Double Life, like I mentioned, and I applied this on the lid first. No problem with getting this eyeshadow to apply. It was very rich, creamy, smooth, very pigmented for both palettes. Then I took the eyeshadow called Still Shot from Urban Decay's palette and I applied this into the crease. And here is where you will notice a tremendous difference in quality between the two eyes. On the Urban Decay side, the eyeshadow really struggled and I had to layer it about 3 times to get it to show up on my skin. But with the dupe palette, I didn't have any trouble whatsoever. I had 1 layer of that eyeshadow applied and it was extremely strong on my eyes. So very happy to tell you that. Finally, I went in with the eyeshadow Hell Ride and I used this to deepen and define the crease and blend between the bronze shade on the lid and that light peach in the crease. If you're wondering about the differences in quantity again that exist between these two palettes, with the Around the World palette, you do get 1.3 grams per pan, and with Urban Decay's palette, you get 0.8 grams per pan. So you do get more in the Around the World palette compared to Urban Decay's palette, and also compared to the You Can Be Belonging palette. There are some differences between the two dupe palettes for those who may be questioning which one should I get, so I'll notate those here for you. Both palettes are cruelty-free, so if that is a concern for you, you don't need to worry about that. They meet those standards. One is cheaper than the other. The You Can Be palette is $11.99 compared to the C Color Cosmetics palette, which is $14.99, so you're saving $3 there if you went with the You Can Be palette. C Color Cosmetics also ships internationally, where I do not think you can get the You Can Be palette internationally. I don't think. Don't quote me, but I have a feeling that might be the case. You also get slightly more eyeshadow with the Around the World palette compared with the You Can Be palette. Now, if you're going to ask me which palette matched the Born to Run palette better, I'd have to tell you the Around the World palette was very impressive to me, shade for shade. I noticed a lot more differences between the You Can Be palette compared to Urban Decay's Born to Run. And there were a lot more similarities between the Around the World palette compared to Born to Run. So if I were going to pick between these two, I would personally go with the Around the World palette myself, but that's just me. Other than those differences, I do feel like you're getting a great dupe palette with either of these. And the pigment is so much stronger with these dupes compared to Urban Decay's formula. That's what surprises me the most when I do these dupe videos, is that quality alone. And if you're interested in either one of these, I will have them linked for you below in the description box. Let me know what you thought. If you've had the chance to try them out for yourself, feel free to share your experiences with them as well. So, oh my goodness, today has just been one of those crazy, crazy days. Gia got sick last night and she was running a 101 fever this morning. Took her to the doctor. They told me nothing. They said she doesn't have the flu, nothing really we can do, let it run its course. Well, later on this afternoon, she took a 4-hour nap and I was checking on her pretty consistently because I was worried. And then when she woke up, we took her temperature again and then she was at 103. So my husband rushed her to urgent care tonight, so she is there right now as I'm filming this. I volunteered to keep Jet here with me so that he could focus solely on Gia, and so he wasn't getting stressed out. And so I've been trying to film around Jet tonight, which has been pretty successful. I mean, right now he's going through my desk, which that's fine. My husband usually watches both kids for me on Friday night, but obviously tonight was an anomaly. So for those who are interested, I will keep you updated on Gia on my Twitter feed. I'll try to post some updates there as I know them, and he's just texting me pictures of her right now. Poor thing, her little eyes are so swollen and she just looks so miserable. So we're just praying here. We just thank you so much to everyone who has sent their prayers. We really appreciate it. And thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful weekend ahead, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. No, 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 no. Boys, they're into everything. He found my Makeup Revolution eyeshadow palette drawer, which I really don't want him getting into. He gets into an eyeshadow palette and he thinks, oh, this is great fun. Mm-hmm.
Mama.
Yes.
Mama.
That's that Jet.
Jet.
Yeah. Jet from C Color Cosmetics. So that's a plus. You okay? You hurt?
Hi.
You got boo-boo? I sit here with Mama?
Yeah.
I know, your shirt's dirty, isn't it? Here, you wanna take your shirt off? That's what happens when you play in makeup. We have pants. Thank you. Do you want, no, gotta keep your diaper on, baby. Jet.
Bye.
Are you gonna go potty?
Okay.